Record of Ragnarok. This is a series that wasn't on my radar until a couple of weeks ago. This isn't an understatement when I say this, but this series is probably one of, if not the best shonen mangas that I've read in a long time. This series is amazing, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about quite possibly one of the best fights that I've ever read in the manga ever. That fight, ladies and gentlemen, is Adam versus Zeus, and in today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on this series as a whole.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to highlight that's done really well in this fight is Adam's introduction before the fight even starts. This is probably based off what I've read so far, and I've only gotten as far as Jack the Ripper versus Heracles, is Adam's introduction and how the creator of the manga sets up Adam's character and his character progression and his development throughout the fight. One thing I do want to highlight is the reference to Michelangelo's drawing of the creation of Adam as a whole. Adam is built up as a man who wants to get revenge against the gods. He is built up as a person who hates the gods. And this setup, which is something that Record of Ragnarok does really well, this setup is perfect at kind of phrasing your expectations or getting you to expect one thing, while the fight, which is really the best aspect of this entire series, kind of hits you in the gut when something else does happen. I kind of don't want to spoil what happens, so it may sound like I'm struggling trying to dance around what I'm trying to say, but this subversion, this introduction, this perception that the gods have of Adam's character kind of perfectly sets up what takes place during the fight. And that, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful things that is Adam's character, is what he eventually reveals himself to be through the backstory and everything that goes on. So, props to Adam. Adam's backstory is one of the most well-written backstories that I've read in a while, and it doesn't tell too much, but it tells just enough in order for us as the readers to sympathize and understand where he stands when it comes to the gods. His backstory kind of starts at the end of the Garden of Eden, the whole thing that happened with the Garden of Eden, eating the forbidden fruit, and it takes place in the court of the gods. And basically, Lucifer, as you know, was the one that tempted Eve to eat the fruit. But in this instance, Lucifer tried to force his will onto Eve, to say the least, to test her faithfulness to Adam, as he put it. When Eve refused, Lucifer decided to come up with the great idea of framing Eve for eating the forbidden fruit of knowledge and basically trying to ban her from the Garden of Eden. Now, this is where Adam comes in, and this is what makes Adam one of my favorite characters in Record of Ragnarok. Now, Adam comes into this courtroom like the Chad that he is, holding a basket of apples from the Garden of Eden. And without saying a word, he takes the apples out of the basket and starts eating them one by one, dropping them as he walks along the courtroom, basically disrespecting the gods and basically saying, F all of this, Eve, you're coming with me, basically. And this was beautifully done. So Lucifer, in his anger, transforms and is basically taking this as an act of disrespect, and he attacked Adam. And this right here is what makes Adam so dangerous and so beautiful as a character. He takes down Lucifer, but not in a way that you would think. And they do this fight, quote unquote, really well, and it basically showcases what is going to make this fight so simple but so beautiful at the same time. After Adam leaves with Eve and they leave the Garden of Eden, we cut back to Adam and Zeus. And Zeus basically asks Adam, why are you fighting? What's the reason why you're fighting? I don't sense any hatred for the gods in your heart. What's the reason why you're doing this? And this right here is what made Adam my favorite character in Ragnarok. Basically, he says, is there any reason that a man needs to protect his children? And I feel like I can speak for a lot of people when I say that when Adam said this line, that we all immediately fell in love with Adam as a character. What other reason does a man need to protect his own children? And who else but the first man to say that? And after he says that, everyone in the stadium as a whole becomes united, regardless of race, religion, creed, nationality, anything. They all start to pray for Adam's victory from that one statement alone. And the reason is simple. His motivation isn't too crazy. It's not some revenge tale. It's literally just, I'm here to protect my children, which is all of humanity. And that right there is the beauty and simplicity of Adam's character, and which is why this fight is so good. Now, I believe that Zeus will have no problem in me saying that it is his turn for me to talk about him. Zeus honestly needs no introduction. He is the god of gods. In Ragnarok, he is the highest god in the pantheon, above all the other gods. He is the chief. He's the head honcho. And in the moments leading up to his introduction, he perfectly showcases that. Now, on the roster that basically showed who was supposed to be fighting who between humanity and the gods, it was actually Shiva, the Indian god of destruction, who was supposed to fight Adam. But Zeus, basically using his authority, basically told Shiva, sit down, this is my fight now. I'm gonna take on Adam and you're gonna sit back and you're gonna wait. And he basically famously says, it's my turn now. 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row before Shiva finally concedes, and it's like, you know what, you can have it. Which that was probably one of my favorite moments of Zeus. Even though I do like Zeus as a character, that moment in particular was one that stood out to me because it really showcased the fact that he, even though he is portrayed as this goofy, aloof, god of gods, when time comes down to it, Zeus is actually, like, he will remind you that he is the god of gods. And in his introduction, he basically has Hermes come out and serenade him with beautiful violin music. I wish that I could hear what the music was. I can't wait for the anime to showcase that scene. But basically, Hermes serenades him as he comes out, and the crowd is loving it. Zeus comes out, and he's basically showing off to everybody. All of the gods are loving it. Everyone's shocked at first because obviously they were expecting Shiva to show up. But when Zeus does show up, the atmosphere in the arena changes, and now things start to feel a little bit more dire for Adam and humanity. Adam being the first and strongest human, even though he does hold that title, it's really, you would think that it's really not that much compared to the man himself, Zeus, who refers to himself as the GOFC, the Godfather of the Cosmos. And when he does say that, everyone loves it. They just start shouting GOFC, GOFC. And it's honestly really good. It showcases Zeus's kind of goofy, silly kind of personality before things actually start to get serious. And he starts to transform from this frail old man to his legs, his thighs get buff, like muscular, like insane. And it's just absolutely crazy. No one expects this frail old man, even though he is Zeus, the guy himself. The way that he looks is kind of a perfect parallel to how Adam looks, and it sets up the fight of this perfectly for Zeus's side, and it kind of gets you ready for what's to come, which is one of the best fights that I've ever read in history. Now, when the fight finally does start, and this is why I wanted this fight to be one of the fights that I reviewed first on this channel. The fight is very simple. There are no crazy abilities outside the ones that Zeus utilizes, but for I would say about a good 85% of the fight is basically just Zeus throwing a barrage of punches, basically. It's not too flashy in the sense of you're going to see a lot of too crazy abilities, but it's fast enough to where it's like, okay, even though he's not showing off as much, this, if Zeus tags Adam one time, it's basically it. Now, when the fight starts, it's definitely, it looks as if it's in Adam's favor. He's basically countering everything that Zeus can throw at him. Every punch that Zeus throws, Adam counters or dodges, and he hits him with the same punch, but even harder. And Zeus is getting pushed back for the majority of the fight. And everyone's kind of trying to figure out, well, how is this possible? How is this human pushing Zeus, the god of gods, the GOFC, to this point, basically? How is this even a competition? Well, that kind of ties into his character as a whole, because Adam has his ability, and it's probably one of the coolest abilities ever. It's an ability called the Eyes of the Lord. Simply put, the Eyes of the Lord are an ability that Adam has that allows him to copy the ability of anyone that he sees. Well, in this instance, it would be Zeus. And Adam having this ability is perfect for him. It goes well with him, seeing as how Adam was the one who was created in God's image. Why wouldn't someone who was basically the perfect copy of the gods to have an ability that allows him to copy the abilities of gods? Adam and Zeus, in my opinion, are perfect parallels to one another. The peak of their respective races, or whatever it is that you want to call us as a whole, the divine, the not divine, the immortal, the mortal. I believe at the core we're all the same, even though there are differences, divine differences, like abilities to summon oceans and rivers, to strike down thunderous lightning bolts and wipe out entire cities. And, you know, us with our machines, our intelligence, our that drive to advance and survive, that ultimately ends up to having us, you know, destroy the things around us, be it the physical things that we can see and touch, you know, destroying nature, destroying other people's property, you know, destroying the earth, the ozone layer, everything around us, and even the things that, you know, we can't see, like the trust that we have in one another. You can destroy love between two people because of hatred, because of jealousy, because of spitefulness, because of anything. And at the core, that's what makes us human. But when you look at the gods, you can kind of see that in the stories that happen with them as well. You know, look at Hades, the story of Hades. He despises Zeus and Poseidon for sending him to the underworld. He kidnapped Persephone to find love because he never had that. And we personify these beings and we call them gods because they're things that are outside of our understanding, but we are created in their image. So in all honesty, we are more alike than we think. So now you may be asking yourself, Rose, what does this have to do with anything? What's the point of you talking about this? Well, this directly ties into what happened with Adam versus Zeus. Brunhild heralded Adam as the peak of humanity, you know, the very best of us. even when he ultimately does end up losing his ability, he is still able to keep up with Zeus. Zeus gives him his respect because of the resilience, the endurance, this drive that Adam has to ultimately protect what's important to him, which is all of humanity. And that very thing that makes him righteous ends up ultimately being the thing that is his downfall. See, the difference between the humans and the gods is that humans, we are finite. We are capable of doing incredible things when we put our mind to it, but we cannot outperform these ideas that we have. These ideas will exist forever, no matter whatever limit they have. We are separated by this divinity, this thing you want to call divinity, this immortal to mortal. That us being humans, we have a limit. There is ultimately a plateau that we cannot get past. And at the end of the day, that is at the core of Adam versus Zeus. The peaks of their respective races coming down to one thing, an idea that we create. This idea of being greater than what fate or destiny has originally intended for us, being greater than the people who came before us, being greater than what the gods may have originally intended for us, depending on what you believe. But at the end of the day, since this video is getting kind of long and I'm gonna have to edit a lot of it, at the end of the day, I believe that Adam and Zeus is the story of us and our, however feeble or impossible attempt at trying to surpass our creators. And this fight, the result of this fight and everything that encompasses this fight perfectly represents and it puts into our faces the mortality of the human race and this ultimate plateau that we will eventually reach, and that even the strongest of us may not have the potential to overcome whatever it is that's out there, be it divine beings, be it higher dimensional beings, be it aliens, or even be it the problems and the ideas that we create ourselves. That the only way that we can overcome this is to first overcome the limits within ourselves. And that can mean a multitude of things. But yeah, those are ultimately my thoughts on Adam vs. Zeus. If I were to give this fight a rating, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Hey, what's up guys? It's Rose here. I know that this review probably isn't the typical kind of review that you were thinking of going into this video, but I felt like kind of halfway through the video that I kind of wanted to take a different route with how I approached this fight. It got a little bit deep there at the end, so I apologize for that. But yeah, this is just, at the end of the day, this is just my thoughts as a whole. I still love the series. If you haven't read Record of Ragnarok, go read Record of Ragnarok right now. It is amazing, and I do plan to do more of these reviews in the future. But Adam vs. Zeus was a fight that particularly hit me in the feels a little bit, so this is kind of the first video that I wanted to get out on this topic. So yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's all love. Peace out, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.
I'm a demon, I'm in the world that never was. Really, yo, cause I'm a demon, I'm in the world. Millie, yo, this so I'm Millie superhero. I'm not a hero, I just make the narrow. You don't even know him, but you dig right, you a weirdo. Throw a Chevy, let me add another zero. Need a badge on and